Yes, Dubey sir.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Friends, it's a pleasure to be back this Thursday. And today also I'm going to share a video that from the series Beyond Myth and Tradition. And this is on the sacred. So give me a minute, I'll share the screen. This is about half an hour. And then we can share our understanding on this one. Are you able to see the screen now?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. Okay.
Wherever humanity has lived, from whatever race or culture, there has been an overarching sense of the other. From time beyond knowing, there have been intimations of something vast and profound, something greater than the individual. That sense of the immeasurable has taken many forms through dance, through art, and the spoken or written word of the world's great religions. Expressions of awe and adoration have created an artistic and spiritual heritage which has rooted in every corner of the globe. A deep imprint has been stamped on the human mind. However great this cultural legacy may be, have these ancient myths and ongoing traditions prevented us from looking beyond the boundaries of our own preconceptions? Is there something beyond the books, the paintings, and sculpture? Is there something beyond the scope of thought? Krishnamurti on the sacred.
Now we're asking, is there anything sacred in life? Not invented by thought. Because man, from time immeasurable, he has always asked this question. Is there something beyond all this confusion, misery, darkness, illusions, beyond the institutions and reforms? Is there something really true? Something beyond time? Something so immense that thought cannot come to it. Man has inquired all this into this. And only apparently, very, 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 very few people have been free to enter into that world. And the priest from ancient of times comes in between the seeker and that which he's hoping to find. He interprets. He becomes the man who knows or thinks he knows. and is sidetracked, diverted, lost. So if we want to inquire into that which is most holy, which is nameless, timeless, one must obviously belong to no group, no religion, have no belief, no faith, because belief and faith, belief is accepting as true something which does not or may not exist. That is the nature of belief. Taking for granted, accepting something to be true. When your own inquiry, your own vitality, energy has not found out, you believe. Because in belief there is some form of security, comfort. But a man who is seeking merely psychological comfort, such a man will never come upon that which is beyond time. We have to talk now about what is religion. Because religion has apparently, from the most ancient of days, has played an extraordinary part in life. Each civilization, however ancient, have their idea of religion. Worshipping the sun, worshipping the trees, worshipping thunder, lightning. Probably that's better than all the other things. From the most ancient days, man sought something beyond himself. And the priest comes along. He's like the rest of us. He says, I'll help you. He becomes the interpreter. Because in the ancient days, the priest was only the person who was capable of reading and writing. He interpreted that which he called God. And then he invented all the paraphernalia to make himself important. The robes, the mitre, the whole sort. So we are asking, in spite of all the religions, with their nonsense, meaningless words and rituals, with their dogmas and superstitions, it's really a network of superstitions. Whether, in spite of all that, what is religion? I see pleasure, enjoyment, joy, and happiness. See pleasure has not related to any of that, the other two, joy and enjoyment. So thought gives direction and sustains pleasure. Right. Now, I ask my mind asks, can there be non-interference of thought?
Yes.
Non-interference of thought in pleasure. I enjoy. Why should thought come into it at all?
There's no reason at all.
But it does.
It does. It does. It does.
Therefore, now the question arises, how is the mind, the brain, to stop thought entering into enjoyment?
Yes.
Not to interfere. Is it possible to enjoy, to take a delight in that lovely scene and not thought creep in? Is this possible? I'll show you, it is possible, completely possible, if you are attentive at that moment, completely attentive.
Which has nothing to do with screwing oneself up with muscular effort to focus in there. No,
Just be wholly there. When you see the sunset, see it completely. When you see a beautiful line of a car, see it. And don't let this thought begin. That means at that moment, be supremely attentive, complete. With your mind, with your body, with your nerves, your eyes, ears, everything. Then thought doesn't come to you at all. To see appetite, desire, to see the implication, the structure of pleasure, and it's no relation to enjoyment and to joy. To see all that, see, not verbally, but actually, through observation, through attention, through care, through very careful seeing, that brings an extraordinary quality of intelligence. After all, intelligence is sensitivity. To be utterly sensitive. See, if you call that intelligence the higher self or whatever, it has no meaning. You follow?
It's as though you're saying at that instant it's released.
Yeah, that intelligence comes in observation.
Yes.
And that intelligence is operating all the time if you allow. Not if you allow. If you're seeing. I mean, I have seen all my life people who have controlled, people who have denied, people who have negated, who have sacrificed, who have controlled, suppressed, furious, disciplined themselves, tortured themselves. They say, for what? For God? For truth? A mind that is made tortured, broken, brutalized? Such a mind can see truth? Certainly not. You need a completely healthy mind. A mind that's whole, that's mind that's holy in itself. Otherwise, you can't see something holy. Unless the mind is sacred, you can't see what is sacred. When the mind is utterly silent, what is the immeasurable? What is the everlasting? What is the eternal? Not in terms of God, all these things man has invented. Actually, to be there. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, silence in that deep sense of that word opens the door. Because you got there all your energy. Not a thing is wasted. There is no dissipation of energy at all. Therefore, in that silence is summation of energy.
Precisely.
Not stimulated energy, not self-projected energy, and so on. So that's all too childish. Because there's no conflict, no control, no reaching out or not reaching,
Mm-hmm.
searching, asking, questioning, demanding, waiting, praying, none of that. Therefore, there is tremendous, all that energy which has been wasted is now gathered in that silence.
Mm-hmm.
That silence has become sacred. Because obviously,
Of course it has.
it has not the sacred thing which thought has invented.
No, not the sacred over against the profane.
And all
No.
that thanks to.
No.
So it is only such a sacred mind can see this, the most supreme sacred, the essence of all that is sacred, which is beautiful.
I do.
So there it is. God isn't something that man has invented or created it out of his image and longing and failure. But when the mind itself becomes sacred, then it opens the door to something that is immeasurably sacred. That is religion. And that affects the daily living. The way I talk, the way I treat people, the conduct, behavior, but all that is the religious life. If that doesn't exist, then it cannot be Christian. Oh, therefore, sir, all this comes from a sense of deep inward seriousness. And that seriousness itself brings about attention, care, and responsibility in all that we discuss. It isn't that one has gone through all this. One sees it. And the very perception is action which is visible.
Mm-hmm. I must express to you my gratitude from the bottom of my heart. I hope you will let me, because throughout the whole career of our discussions, I have been undergoing transformation.
Because you're willing enough to listen, good enough to listen. Most people are not, they won't listen. You took the time, the trouble, the care to listen. So we have untold energy. If that energy is not misused or wasted, and to find that which is sacred, one must have doubt. Because that doubt, skepticism, healthy skepticism, not that you can't doubt everything. But in the process of doubting, you clear the brain of all its stupidities, its superstitions, its illusions. So the brain then becomes extraordinarily alive, subtle. So meditation is not controlling thought or practicing any some system or method, but freeing the mind from the brain, freeing the brain from its own condition. That's only the beginning of it. When there is that freedom, then we can inquire into what is a brain that is silent. Because it's only through great silence you learn, you observe, not when you're making a lot of noise. To observe those hills and these beautiful trees, to observe your wife and your children, or your husband and your relatives, whatever they are, to observe, you must have space and there must be silence. But if you are chattering, gossiping, you have no space of silence. And we need space, not only physically, but much more psychologically. That space is denied when we are thinking about ourselves. So simple, right? Because when there is space, vast space in psychological, there's great vitality, great energy. But when that space is limited, one's own little self, that vast energy is totally contained in it with its limitation. So that's why meditation is the ending of the self. You know? One can listen to all this. So one begins to realize when thought is quiet, watching, there's something beyond all imagination, doubt, and seeking. And there is such thing, at least for the speaker. But what the speaker says has no validity to another, unless you listen, learn, watch, be totally free from all the anxieties of life. The ending of the self, me, to be nothing, to have no image of any kind, no illusion, to be absolutely nothing. The tree is nothing to itself. It exists. And in its very existence, it is the most beautiful thing. Like those sailors, they exist. They don't become something. This is meditation. This is the ending of the search, and truth is. That's it.
Yes, Harshad bhai.
Yeah, are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Dubeyji. When I saw the pictures Michael has shown of Oak Grove, where Krishnaji was giving his public talks, it reminded me of something which happened in 1979 when I was listening to Krishnaji in Ohio, and perfect silence, no effort in understanding Krishnamurti. And then I saw something which made me write a letter to Krishnaji that I would like to dedicate my life to Krishnamurti schools. And then few days after that, something again happened with Krishnaji's presence, though it was completely non-verbal, and it was during a music program. And that made me completely certain that my life now is for Krishnamurti school. And I wrote, and then what I felt at that moment, that I felt that everything is cleaned up and now I can do something which I really enjoy. And I wanted to be a teacher, and I became a teacher. But what I felt, I think it was something of this nature of sacred silence, uh, observing, listening without interference of the thinking and without this sense of I or me. And it is just being. So this topic, sacred, I think it generally comes at the end after Krishnamurti speaks about our problems, suffering, conflicts, and anger, and fear, and jealousy. And going beyond that, when a person is really able to listen, look without the sense of I or thought interfering, and then something may happen by itself. We cannot try to do it. And it is expressed in one bhajan, द्वार दया का जब तू खोले पंचम सुर में गूंगा बोले. That means it is like a door is opened by God or that sacredness itself or himself or whatever it is. And then a person who is not able to speak, a dumb man or dumb woman begins to sing very beautifully. So such thing happens in the life of some people if it happens. And Krishna ji uses the word sacred or the otherness or the blessing or the presence. And later on in 1979, Krishna ji used the ground, touching the source of all energy, which he felt in 1979 in Rishi Valley, the year when I had joined that school. And I had that such feeling of sacredness in the presence of Krishnamurti several times. Krishna ji himself doesn't describe much, even in his notebook, though he mentions that there is something, a timeless dimension, which may be very rare in human existence. But some people had experienced such extraordinary thing, and they had come to Krishnamurti to discuss. So in Commentaries on Living, there are 3 articles. One is Valuing an Experience, in which one professor and diplomat who was very much interested in Buddhism and meditation, and he had even tried some drugs before. But one time when he was discussing with his friends about the similarity between communism and Catholic or Christian religion, and suddenly he began to see the image of Buddha, but his other friends who were discussing, they did not see it. But this person, this professor, he was really amazed to see this image. And then he went out, and that image also went ahead of him. And after a few minutes, again, this professor came back and joined the meeting, and that image of Buddha was still there. And then he saw it for some days. And then later on, that image was not coming, but the professor was trying to bring that image. And then he came to discuss with Krishna ji whether that image of Buddha, which he saw, which gave him a creative release, he wanted to ask Krishna ji whether it was something real or it was imagination. And Krishna ji says that maybe when it happened, the first time, it was real because you were not trying to create it, but it happened by itself. But then later on, you got attached to that image, and then you were thinking about it and creating that image. So now you are getting attached to that image. So Professor thanked Krishnamurti because when a beautiful experience of sacredness, it happens in our life, we get attached to it, and then slowly that reality becomes an imagination, it becomes a pleasure, and it loses its significance. And similarly, there was another person who came also, he was a businessman, and one day, early in the morning, he came out of his house and he felt like he was flying in the air, and there was a beautiful music. And then he was reading all the labels on the shops. And then he went to the garden and he looked at the flowers, and the flowers looked like smiling. And it was such a experience. The tears were rolling. And then it remained for 2 days, and then that experience went away. And then this person, he felt very miserable because he wanted to go back into that state of sacredness. And so he came to Krishna ji, and again they discussed. And Krishna ji said that you can't invite it, but it can happen when your mind is very, very silent, very attentive, and there is no sense of I or me. And then suddenly something you may see or hear or experience, but that is momentary. And then don't get attached to that momentary experience, but how you live your daily life moment by moment, that is very important. And this I liked very much in Krishnamurti's teachings, that one must not get attached to even the beautiful experience and live with awareness of what is happening without trying to interpret it and moving with what is. And in that, there is a real great beauty. And then it may happen that one can see that way of looking can become our nature. That means we can look at the flowers, trees, human beings. We see it very, very clearly without the thought interfering. There is also another experience in communities on living, but I will not talk about it. But I feel that some people have gone through that there is a dimension beyond thinking, beyond time, but it cannot be invited. It may happen when our mind is very, very silent and very clean. There are no problems, and just looking, listening. Okay, I have said enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harshad bhai. Thank you.
Are you able to listen to me, sir?
Yes, please go ahead.
First of all, sir, I would say that this today's film was one of the best film according to my judgment or my views. Michael Mendoza has made, and because the editing is really good in this film. Now, let us not be very emotional, but in this, JK has also said that one must have doubts. So obviously there are some questions for which I don't want any answers. There are questions, but I don't want any answers. First, if the state of mind which JK said is only sacred, the state of mind which JK said is only sacred, then the life with all its manifestations, including awareness, thought, and its creation, are they not sacred? The question, if the answer is yes, then we are in trap of vertical polarity. If the answer is no, then all the processes, methods, etc. automatically became sacred. So this is one thing. Now, another thing which was discussed in today's dialogue, that was interference of thought in pleasure. Now, whether it is possible that thought should not interfere in pleasure, you sense it completely and drop it. For me, at present, this is what should be, and this is not what is. That's what my state of being is right now. Now, another point. Anderson said in this, throughout the career of our discussion, I am undergoing a transformation. Means Anderson has taken time. And JK has also confirmed that. So it means time is involved in this. So whether it is instantaneous or time is also involved, that is another thing. Now, one more point. In this JK said, freeing the mind from its own conditioning, it's just the beginning. Means he's talking from the other shore in this case. Harshad sir always says that freedom is at the beginning, but in this case, in this today's dialogue, he said, freeing the mind from its own conditioning is just the beginning. So this is what the questions are, for which I don't want answers. Of course, I would like to remain with it. Anyway, but if Harshad sir wants to make any comment, he is most welcome. One more point, what Harshad sir said, in two experiences, what he has mentioned. Important point is, in both the cases, in first case, the professor was discussing, so his mind was not silent at all. In second case, it is not clear, but I think in my views, he was also not in the state of silent mind. So whether the silent mind brings the experiences or that dimensions gives the experiences. As per means dimension has got its wish and will. That is to be seen. Thank you, sir. I definitely want Harshad sir's comments on this. Thank you.
Unmute, Harshad, please
Yeah.
unmute.
May I say something?
Yes, please.
Yeah. About there is a chronological time is involved, I can see from my own experience, because I came to Krishnamurti in 1972 or 73, around that time. And the first book itself made me very curious to look at my own mind, and not according to Krishnamurti, but just looking at how the thoughts are coming, and that begin to make changes in my way of looking at nature, at everything, even the thoughts. But there was many experiences of the biological kind I went through over the years between 1972 to 1977. And during that time, I wrote several letters to Krishnamurti that something new is happening in my body and brain. And I never asked any questions. And then only after that 5 years of looking inward and writing letters, only in 1977, I went to Ojai and listened to him for the first time in 1977 in Oak Grove. But this kind of sacredness I did not feel. And then again, next year, 1978, I again went to Ojai to listen to Krishnamurti, again, there was nothing. I used to feel tired after listening to Krishnamurti because I was maybe unconsciously, I was making an effort to understand Krishnamurti. But only in 1979, while listening, the mind was very, very silent. And in that silent awareness, I could listen to the sounds and saw something quite different on Krishnamurti's face. And then I saw something, I don't want to talk about it, and I did not write to Krishnamurti about it. So this took about 7 years of really looking very closely at my own mind. And after this thing happened, I felt that there is a real clarity. And then I did not like to get attached to that experience which I went through. But I'm still interested in looking at what is, whatever is unfolding. And there is nothing extraordinary, just looking. And this kind of sacredness, which I felt several times, even in Rishi Valley, I don't feel it now, but I feel wonderful to just look at everything, looking at the thoughts itself. And I'm not asking questions, but just looking. And I would say that I don't ask questions, but if there is any question arising, I can look at it. So there is some kind of chronological time is necessary for the maturity to take place. And initially your mind may become silent once in a while, but later on it may become more and more silent. And then later on it may be silent without your effort. So that kind of chronological time is necessary. And I would also say Krishnaji talks a lot against belief, but I say that it has nothing to do with belief or non-belief. A person who doesn't have any belief, even such a person may not go through this experience of silence or sacredness. So it is beyond belief and non-belief. And yes, about pleasure and thought. Yes, thought wants to create pleasure, and it can become a kind of addiction. And then the pleasure creates pain. But in full awareness, one can have pleasure and without having pain. But it requires an awareness which is beyond pleasure and pain. So in freedom, neither pleasure nor pain, nor belief, nor non-belief, these are not a problem. So what is required is an ongoing, effortless awareness in which pleasure come, pain come, you don't get attached to it. Okay, I have said enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Harshadji. Yes, Mr. Pradeep Verma.
Yes, sir. You can hear my voice, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Very good evening. These videos have been made with great intelligence, non-verbal to verbal in successions, deeply touching us. But we are interested in the words only. We beautifully skipped the video part of it. You see, that was the non-verbal sort of demonstration, followed by words, and again non-verbal, again followed by words, etc. So we miss something this way. Then, what is immeasurable, sacred, eternal, etc., what is immeasurable, sacred, eternal, etc. If this basic question is in the background, then curiosity is always associated with it. And one looks for some answer to this basic question. Is it thinking about ourselves, if this is the state? At the time of seeing, self may be working as a screen only, and a minute later, thoughts rush in. I feel nothing wrong with self if it is not asking for something. You see, so self is not to be blamed that way. It is acting as a screen. Self, the role of self is very much there. So these are my few observations. And if I am repeating myself endlessly, then I can see a definite role of memory working mechanically, which is a dead thing. Even if it's a conclusion, truth and reality changes every moment, including me, if I am vulnerable and open. My stories, metaphors, and parables remain the same. Where is that newness we are looking for? Thank you very much. Thank you, friends.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Arun Partha.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So, in many of the dialogues, Krishna ji mentions that sacred is the origin of everything. And he also mentions that the life is sacred. So I think that human life itself is very sacred. One thing which from all these three sentences, which I feel is like, are we in a return journey, going back to the origin? Rather than, because in our thought process, what happens is we think we are moving in the forward direction. But I think since sacredness is the origin, I think we are moving back in the return journey. And one more thing which I could take from K is like he's mentioning about nothingness. So in one of the dialogues which I've heard earlier also, he mentions that we always have a fear of the what do you mean, the unknown coming to the, known coming to the end rather than the unknown. So I feel like the fear is the only main entity which stops us from returning back fully to our origin. So that is the thing which I could understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Arunji. Thank you. Yes, Hansaji, please.
Namaste. I just want to tell, if we look this talk, if we listen this talk in fragments, then we lose this talk's gist. What the talk is saying, what the gist of the talk. If we fragment this talk, and if we all is depend on our state of mind, how we can take the words or pleasure or everything. It is all depend on our state of mind, how we can touch the gist of this environment. I just want to tell only this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Shakti ji, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, in this video, I received this thing that when there is silence and attention, and if it is real, it shows in the behavior. Krishnamurti talked in the behavior. Who else but I can gauge what are the depths or shallownesses of my behavior? So it is something very important for me to see this connection, attention, silence of the mind, and the behavior patterns and the changes in them. So this was the message which I got. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shakti. Yes, Dinesh ji.
I would like to ask Harshad sir one more question, which is very interesting. Are you able to listen to me, sir? Hello.
Harshad bhai, please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yes, I'm able to hear. Yes.
In case of these mystical experiences, which you also had something, what do you think, sir? This extra dimension which we are talking, which is beyond, has it got any active role in it or not? This, if we say yes, then it has got a very profound meaning.
Yeah. Can you say?
My question is clear?
No, not clear. No.
Whatever this mystical experiences we have, in that, is it because of only our state of mind, or whether that dimension is interested in giving us some experiences, such experiences?
Okay, I understood. In some human beings, it happens in the presence of some other human being. Like in the presence of Buddha, some people go through extraordinary state, which we can call sacredness. In some human beings, it may be their own, like Kabir. Kabir had no really any meeting with Guru, but he was going to the river and he touched some saint or Ramdas, somebody called Ramdas, and something began to happen to him. In case of Vivekananda, it was the touch of Ramakrishna which made him feel a different dimension where he began to have this sense of no self and everything looked so divine. So but I think one has to have a preparation only when a person has really looked, has cleaned up his own mind to a great extent, and then that final jump, maybe somebody ignites the flame when it is ready, But otherwise, one has to work, look at our own daily problems, and very, very curiously look at our own mind and see it very honestly, not be an illusion if there are any weaknesses, if there is a fear, anger, we have to really see it. And then a great work of cleaning up of our own mind has happened. Then something happens that cannot be planned, I think. And I think even the Guru doesn't plan, but some kind of resonance may happen between two human beings. And so this is a mystery. Some people go through experiences, but it is for a short duration, and then they come back. For a momentary or a few days, they feel kind of divine. Look, everything looks so marvelous. But then again, they come back to the worldly state, and then they want to go back to that state. So there is a conflict starts. That happened in the case of these 2 or 3 people, that they had gone through something extraordinary, which they had never experienced. But then they had lost it, and then they wanted to get it back. And Krishnamurti said, "You can't do it. It happened by itself." And so all we can do is to just look very, very carefully at our own mind and let everything go, not getting attached to any experience or pleasure or pain or anything. Moving with what is, That is the teachings of Krishnamurti, in that whatever is unfolding in your mind, you can see it clearly. You don't need to read any book, because the book is being written in your own mind, and the mind itself reads that while it is being written. So it is moving with what is. And that is much more interesting than going through a momentary experience of divinity or something. That is what I have to say. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Clemice. Clemice, please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening to everybody. Something just came to my mind. It is this Krishnamurti, he says in that short video that we just saw, that life itself is sacred. So the question is, we don't see that. We live our lives without that feeling or without that sense of sacredness in our life. So life happens here and now all the time. So what is preventing us from this, from living this sacredness, which is happening already? The only problem is we are not able to feel it. We are not able to live it. So I have a feeling that there is no need for us to wait to experience it in the future, because it may not happen in the future. But the whole thing is here and now, and it is right now, it is there. Sacredness is there. Life itself is sacredness. It's sacred. So why do we don't feel it? Why do we have this feeling that something amazing has to happen, that we have this feeling of sacredness? And it is a sense that it is out of our daily life. It is out of our daily activities. It is something amazing, something extraordinary that has to happen for us to feel this sacredness. So that was just something that came to me. Why are we not able to see it right now when it is all the time happening, since it is life itself? So why we don't see it? That was my question.
Thank you. Thank you, Clemice. Yes, Mr. Rajendran, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Good evening. Good evening, all our friends here. Just while I was listening to Harshad Bhai just before a few minutes, he was talking about preparation and cleaning up the mind. So a doubt has arisen whether the preparation and cleaning up, it involves efforts or effortless, or is there then it involves some motive and goal. Just I'm confused by listening to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rajendran. I think when
may I answer that?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. About both Clemice and Rajendran. Initially, I think it needs some effort to look, because we go through school, college, acquire a lot of knowledge, and then our mind is just thinking. And there is no gap of silence. But when we read something, whether Krishnamurti or Buddha or Upanishad, and something, it makes us stop and look at ourselves, then that is the beginning, I think. And then we may not be able to look at for a minute or so, and then again the mind goes into some other thoughts. But if we are curious and want to go right at the root of thinking itself, that from where does it come? Why does it come, this thinking? So when there is that curiosity is there, and then there is this passion, energy, honesty to look, then it may happen that the mind stops. And at that time, many people feel frightened of that state of silence because it is like a death, nothing happening. So we try to move away from that state. But when it happens for the first time, this silence, and we really feel the beauty of it, that there is no sense of I or me, there is only looking, listening. It's a real freedom. So a person who feels that there is a real freedom in just looking without the interference of thinking, then a kind of a process starts. And once it helps us a little bit, then we like to do it more. And so whenever we get free time, we would like to sit and just look, not in order to become somebody, but just curiosity. And in that, there is a greater understanding of our own mind. And sometimes when we get angry, we begin to see the anger arising also. And sometimes when we are sitting quietly and some song or starts coming by itself, sometimes you can pick up the beginning, the beginning word of the song. So it requires a kind of a curiosity, silence to look within. And if that becomes the most important thing in your life, then again, this looking will not need any effort. It would become effortless to just look and not gather too much knowledge and ask intellectual questions. Because to me, asking question to somebody else, it doesn't make any sense because the other person will answer you according to his background. But the question, if the question is very, very important to you, then your mind will stop and you will start looking at your own question. So my question is whether your question is a genuine question or an intellectual question to gather more knowledge about it. So I would say question may come, answer may come, but the life is moving ahead and one must not get stuck. And about Clemice says that life is sacred, but we don't feel sacredness because we have acquired too much knowledge, this mind, and from that mind, the sense of I or me, which has come, which separates itself from other human beings. And then there's a conflict, duality. So we don't feel the life sacred. But when our mind is silent and attentive, maybe we can feel the life flowing within our body, the blood going, even the brain becomes highly alert, and we can have the sensitivity of the body and we can feel whatever is going on within the body. So all it requires is a silent, attentive mind and curiosity, and not in order to become somebody, but just curiosity. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Harshad bhai. I think most of us have difficulty looking inside. So I think Krishnaji has also talked about it when he used to talk to students and teachers, that it's a lot easier for us to observe outside and see the mind in operation. That is how one should begin. And slowly when you get, that is what perhaps Harshad bhai says, preparation, where you are able to observe something externally, then you can look at yourself also. There is a possibility of doing that. Thank you, Harshad bhai. Thanks a lot. We'll go to Pradeep ji. Please unmute yourself. Yes, unmute.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here with people discussing about sacredness. This very process itself is very sacred, to try to understand sacredness and to talk about Krishnamurti itself is a very sacred process. So sacredness is an interpretation. Harshad, I really love you, and what you say is very valuable. But can I speak in Hindi in between? Anyway, I'll try to speak English so that people understand. But there is one problem in this, the same problem which Rajneesh created. He created enlightenment as a goal, and it became a becoming journey, and he sold it to the people, and then people got trapped into.
Pradeep ji, we have lost you. We can't hear you. Perhaps
It's
there is
very
some
simple to understand.
some problem with your audio. Yeah.
Is it? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Is it okay? I'll come again. You go ahead with somebody else. I'll come again after shifting my internet. Can I come again after
No,
some time?
We can hear you all right. We can hear you all right now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. I think you fix it up, Pradeep ji. In the meantime, we can go to other people. Yes, Clemice, please go ahead.
Yeah, there is one thing that somebody said, now I don't remember who said it, about nothing is happening. I think it was Harshad Parekh, who was saying, sometimes you feel nothing is happening. Is there any time that nothing is happening? Or do we have this feeling that nothing is happening because we expect things to happen the way we think they should happen, or the way we are used to things to happen, and then when they don't happen that way, we feel nothing is happening? But my feeling is that life is so rich. There is always something happening around us. Yes. But maybe we just refuse to see those things because we are not used to them, or we feel that's not the correct way things should happen, or something like that. So my question is there any time that nothing is happening? And then the other thing is, Harshad Parekh also was talking about questions to others. When we question, when we send a question, when we ask somebody else and we wait for an answer from that person. But you see, I feel that questioning and sharing with others that question is very important, because at that moment that we share a question, so many things can happen. Some answer can come to our own mind. Not that we are asking the person the question, but we are sharing a question. That's different. And we don't expect the person to answer that question, but in that sense of sharing a question. So it is not my question to you. It is just a question to us. So maybe there will be an answer from the other person, but we don't have to keep that answer to ourselves. And we also don't have to be satisfied with that answer, because that may be the process that that person needs to go through to answer it. We just leave it, let the person also have the freedom to answer it, and don't judge it if it is the proper answer, not proper or something. But this sense of sharing, either the question or the answer, if we can be in that state. And I feel it is very important that we learn, we also need to learn to share without hoping for answers, without hoping to be always right, or to be say the person is right or the person is wrong, just in that feeling and that spirit of sharing. That was what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Clemice. We have 4 people who have raised hands. Mr. Rajendran, please go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, regarding effort, my little understanding is that Harshad Bhai was telling some little effort is necessary. As long as the effort is there, whether it is little or more, There is always that me thought the observer is always there. If the observer is always there, there won't be any passion or energy, sir. That is my understanding. One more thing. So for attending this meeting, I would just come, no effort. Suppose I want to come and some other, I want to see some movie, some TV serial also, then I have to make an effort. Effort is always, I think, one against the another, one thought against the another thought. 6 o'clock, 5:50, okay, Indore meeting, just join, that's all. That's not effort, that does not require effort. But I am yet to see what Harshad Bhai is telling about the little effort I made yet to, I think one day I may say, I do not know. Krishna ji, at the end of his life and the last day when he left Chennai, he told, be absolutely alert and make no effort. I think sometimes we agree with the Krishnamurti, and some few cases we do not agree with the Krishnamurti also. I think that is because we are yet to see the truth in what Krishna ji has said. So in those areas, we say we do not agree with that. So sorry, sir, this is just my observation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Prasad sir, please.
Sir, in this video, like elsewhere, Krishna ji has made it clear that what we regard as sacred is not sacred. But there is a sense, a desire for the sacred in the human mind for centuries, for millennia. From the beginning of life, there is a sense that there is something much more important than our normal daily life. Something much more, what he calls immeasurable, is there. But it is lost in the work of the priest. The priest comes as the interpreter, and we are not able to really touch the sacred. If a mere assertion of the sacred is not touching the sacred, you have to discover it and touch it. That is his main message, I think. That is where he differs from many others. And then one clue he has given, that a silence is the door to the sacred. Silence and a space in the mind are the doors to the sacred. The silence is not a matter of effort. You cannot get the silence by asking for it. You can get that silence only when you keep your house in order. And that is why he kind of devotes so many talks to clearing the, what we call the rubbish in the brain, all our beliefs and all that. To give you an example of the strength of a belief, how much damage it can do, I have a watchman in my house. He was quite normal. His wife was normal. His child was also normal. Everybody was normal, I thought. Yesterday, he started shouting. He was saying, why have you come to my house? I thought somebody has entered the house and he was shouting at him or her. But then we realized he was shouting at his own wife. And his problem was that the devil has occupied the brain of his wife. A ghost has occupied. And surprisingly, when I went and I lost my temper, I shouted at him. I said, don't talk of this devil and all that nonsense. And then I asked his wife, I was stunned because she also said, yes, I am occupied by the ghost. I thought she would seek sympathy from me. No, she was not seeking sympathy from me. She was agreeing with her husband. That is the strength of a belief. It came as a big shock to me, rude shock, that belief can do so much damage. Anyway, that is, so the human brain contains a lot of rubbish. And the greatest service Krishnaji has done is to remove this rubbish. And he has done it without wasting much time on it, without spending much effort on it, by simply saying, all your beliefs are inventions of your brain, something like that. That is how I understand, sir. And then another great point he made today is, we are all lost in becoming. He has given the example of a tree. The tree exists. It doesn't become anything. Not only the tree, most animals, etc., in that world, there is no effort to become. They are all existing. It is only we human beings that are caught in this process of becoming. And unless we see the damage that this becoming is doing by creating competition and all that, and ultimately war and all that, unless we see that, there is no relief. And sir, observation. He has given another clue. Observation, total observation, with all your energy, with your nerves, with your eyes, that is how he puts it. Total energy, that is only, ultimately, it is conservation of energy. You have to conserve your energy, which is now getting wasted in so many channels. It is that energy that creates, that opens the door to the sacred. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Prasad, sir. Thank you. I have just 1 minute, so I'll let Pradeep ji conclude what he was saying, and then we'll go. And my apologies to Pradeep ji and Harshad bhai. We'll hear next time. So Pradeep ji, you finish it off, please.
Thank you. I think you're asking Pradeep Prakash, so there are two Pradeep, so I'll assume you're asking me. Anyway.
No, you are the one who had not finished.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know which part you heard and which part you didn't hear, but okay, I'll say something. I want to make things very simple. The way I understand is, you see, the sacred part is very easy to realize, and there's nothing very great thing in that. But the real thing is in the mind, the management of mind, the feeling, the desires, and all that. That is where it consumes all the energy, and that is why we miss the sacred. So that is where the time takes, lifetimes or whatever time it takes to manage that. And that happens in the here and now constant observation. So the discipline of constantly witnessing whatever is happening is what clears the cobwebs, as Mr. Mulupuri Prasad said before me. And that is what releases the energy. And when that energy is released, the silent sacred part is already there. So that's how I make it simple, and not make it a becoming journey like the niche did and all that nonsense. So just let it be in the here and now, as Clemice also said. So I really appreciate today. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much. I have come after many gaps, and I'm enjoying it. I am really blessed that I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Pradeep Prakash. We have come to the end of the dialogue session now. And just to make an announcement that this Sunday, which is 20th, we will have Mr. Michael Cronin talk about, is it possible to live Krishnamurti's teachings? And what does this imply in one's daily life? Now, this talk is at 9:30 a.m., little early for us, but we had to do that to accommodate his time in California. And he is more than 75. It gets quite late there, so we had to change our timing to suit his convenience. So please join us if you're free at 9:30 a.m. Next Sunday to hear Mr. Michael Cronin. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Good night.
Thank you, Dubey.
Thank you.
Modak, please end it.